I never planned to tell this story. Not because it isn't true, but because for a long time it felt easier to swallow it, file it away, and move on. But every once in a while something happens that forces you to look back and realize, yeah, that moment changed you. And this one did. It started with a voice sharp and panicked cutting through the low hum of an airplane cabin. He shouldn't be sitting here. This is wrong. Someone needs to fix this right now. I was halfway through a chapter of a paperback I'd read a dozen times before, the kind of book you open when you don't want to think too hard. I didn't even look up at first. I figured it was another argument about seat numbers or overhead space. Happens all the time. Then, the finger appeared in my peripheral vision, hovering inches from my face, trembling with outrage. "That man," she said loudly, "doesn't belong in this section." I looked up, calm, tired, mostly annoyed that my quiet bubble had just been punctured. She was standing in the aisle, perfectly styled, expensive jacket hair pulled tight like it never moved unless she allowed it to. Her eyes weren't curious. They were certain. Certain that I was a mistake. Certain that someone like me had slipped through a crack that needed to be sealed immediately. I've been underestimated before. I grew up with it. Teachers, bosses, strangers. That look that says you're already guilty of something they can't quite name. So I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "Is there a problem?" She scoffed. "The problem is obvious. This section is for premium passengers, and you're clearly not supposed to be here." There it was, not subtle, not even pretending anymore. A few heads turned. A flight attendant paused a few rows back, watching the scene carefully. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my boarding pass, and held it up. Seat 2C. That's what this says. She didn't even look at it. "Anyone can print paper," she snapped. "I want someone official to check." The flight attendant stepped in, then a professional smile stretched thin. "Sir, ma'am, what seems to be the issue?" "This man is in the wrong seat," the woman said. "And frankly, he's making me uncomfortable." The attendant took my boarding pass, scanned it, nodded. "Everything checks out. Sir, you're exactly where you're supposed to be." You could almost hear the snap inside her head. "That can't be right," she said. "Look at him." The words hung there, heavy and ugly. The attendant's tone hardened. "Ma'am, please take your seat so we can prepare for departure." She did, but not before throwing me one last look, the kind that says this isn't over. And she was right. It wasn't. As the plane pushed back from the gate, I felt that familiar tension in my chest. Not fear. Something older. The instinct to shrink, to disappear, to avoid drawing more attention. But another part of me, quieter but stronger, said no. Sit up. Breathe. Let them be wrong. She didn't stop. Loud sighs. Mutters about safety. Comments clearly meant for me to hear. "I pay good money for this," she told the man next to her, "and they just let anyone in now." I stared out the window, watching the city slide away, thinking about how ridiculous it was that a piece of fabric bolted to the floor could turn into a battlefield. About 30 minutes into the flight, I took my laptop out. Old, bulky, scratched up. I travel light and practical. Always have. I opened a few files, reviewing notes, diagrams, numbers. Work stuff, boring stuff. That's when she stood up again. "See," she shouted. "I told you. What is that?" "Why is he doing that?" The cabin went quiet. The flight attendant rushed over. "Ma'am, please lower your voice." She pointed at my screen. "That looks like hacking. I watch the news. I know what this looks like." I closed the laptop slowly. "I'm just working," I said. "Same as half the people on this plane." "No," she said, shaking her head, backing away as if I'd moved toward her. "You're lying. You're dangerous." She demanded I be moved, or removed, or restrained. I honestly lost track. Her words blurred together into one long accusation fueled by fear and entitlement. Then she crossed a line. She reached down, grabbed my bag from under the seat, and yanked it toward her, hard. "Hey," I said, standing up, "don't touch my things." That's when she screamed. Full volume. He's attacking me. Phones came out. People shouted. Someone told her to give the bag back. She ignored all of it and dumped the contents onto her seat. Clothes, snacks, a framed photo, documents. She picked up the photo. "What's this?" "My daughter," I said, my voice suddenly very cold. "Put it down." Instead, she waved it like evidence. This is all fake. It has to be. Security was called. The captain was notified. And then, to everyone's shock, the plane started descending. We made an emergency landing. When law enforcement boarded, she was triumphant, pointing, talking over everyone, telling them how she'd saved the flight. An officer approached me, looked me over, and instead of reaching for cuffs, asked, "Sir, are you all right?" Her face drained of color. Things moved fast after that. My identity was confirmed. My role explained. Her behavior documented. Laws broken. Consequences unavoidable. She was escorted off the plane in handcuffs, screaming about lawyers and status and how unfair this all was. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The flight was canceled. Everyone was rebooked. Chaos everywhere. But something else was happening quietly in the background. Something far more serious than her tantrum. Later that night, evidence surfaced that the real threat hadn't been me at all. It had been much closer to her than anyone realized. While all eyes were on her outrage, someone else had been counting on the distraction. That part of the story made the headlines. The investigation, the arrests, the fallout. What didn't make the headlines was the quiet moment afterward. Sitting alone, holding that photo again, thinking about how close things came to going very wrong because someone saw a stereotype instead of a human being. Here's the thing. Prejudice doesn't just hurt the person it's aimed at. It blinds the person holding it. It makes them loud in the wrong direction and silent where it matters most. She thought she was protecting herself. She thought she was powerful. In the end, she was just noise. And the real danger almost slipped past unnoticed. I went home the next day. Life moved on, but I didn't forget. I don't think I ever will. So I'm curious, when you hear this story, what do you think was justice served, or did things go too far? Have you ever seen someone judged like that? Or been the one judged? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if this story made you uncomfortable, maybe that's the point.